sprint review. So sprint review is, what is it? Scrum artifact, Scrum event, what is it? It's a Scrum event, it's a penultimate, last but once Scrum event. What is the duration if anybody remembers?
4 hours.
4 hours, I have a complete routine to that 4 hours. 4 hours max. So you know now the song for 1 month sprint and shorter when it is short. Who joins?
Scrum team.
So Scrum team, can I say?
Yes.
And plus the stakeholders. What is the purpose of this event? Why do we do this?
Good morning.
We take the feedback, but what do we do with the feedback? Go into the right direction. We decide where next. So what are we doing? We are inspecting the outcome of the sprint. We are seeing whatever has happened in the sprint, and based on that, we decide the future adaptation. So we inspect the outcome of the sprint, decide the future adaptation. Let me put it. We inspect the outcome of sprint. And based on that, we decide the future adaptations. So I have a question for you. While inspecting the outcome of the sprint, who should be the one who presents it?
Any of the Scrum team.
Any of the Scrum team? So any of the Scrum team shows and the product owner accepts. Is that it?
No.
This is not an acceptance forum. So what do we do? Scrum team demonstrates or shows the outcome of the sprint and we get a feedback. The focus is always on a feedback, not on acceptance, not on demonstration. So this should not be made a presentation. Better feedback will be coming if I showed you a series of pictures. Say if we are creating this pen and the sprint review is going on. I'll get a better feedback if I showed you a series of documentation, a pictures, whatever. Or I'll get a better feedback if I let you use the pen. Where will you get a better feedback? Hands. So make it a hands-on working session and not a presentation. So let me put it down. It is not a presentation. But a working session. So I want you to give a little bit of thought on the term working session. Many people call this a demo. Have you heard this word demo?
Yes.
When somebody gives you a demo, the focus is on you observing how it works. Say you are planning to buy a new water filter in your house, the AquaGuard. You call the person at home, he or she gives you a demonstration. Do you give him the feedback at that point? Saying that please add one more feature? Focus is on demo. So when we say demo, it's in our mind is usually one direction. But here, the focus is not only on a demo, and that is why the terminology says review and not a demo. See, these words have been put into use for a reason. So that's why better call it a sprint review, not a sprint demo. It's not a presentation, it's a working session. So it's a working session, again, it's not an acceptance forum. Any questions on these 2 points, please?
Another question.
Go ahead.
So when we say review and we want them to actually use and then give the feedback, how are we achieving that?
We are probably either giving them, I have seen it being done in multiple places. Either one simple way is I create, say login is the functionality. I put in the ID, I put in the password, they are showing it while it is done. But the focus is asking on the feedback. That is one. Second, in Petronas Malaysia, we used to do a very interesting thing. There, luckily, because of the domain type, the stakeholders were not huge. Maybe for each sprint review, we used to have some 15, 20. We used to install this particular application in our UAT and hold the sprint review in a lab where they used to come. I used to be the one showing, they could play it around. So again, this is also not mandatory. What is mandatory is structure the session in such a way that you get a feedback. And you get a feedback on what? Outcome of the sprint. Because the purpose is the whole stakeholders and the Scrum team is reviewing the progress towards the product goal. And seeing that we have to meet the product goal. Towards that product goal, we have come in here, from here where we go. So we review the progress towards the product goal. Some time back we were discussing that in a particular sprint you can have multiple increments created. Then does this mean that whenever there is an increment created, we have to wait to show it to the stakeholders till the sprint review, or we can keep on, call the relevant stakeholder, show it to the stakeholder and still have a sprint review at the end? What is it? Should we wait? Is the sprint review a gate? No. Sprint review is not a gate. Say we finished our ID password functionality on day 3. We can call the relevant stakeholders on day 3, show it to them. Maybe on day 7, forget password comes up. Again, call the relevant stakeholders, just show it to them. But does that mean that because we are doing this, we can skip the sprint review at the end? It's not a skippable. What if we are not going to production? Can we skip it? Say we are not going to do release. And why can't we skip it? You're all right, but I want you to elaborate just in one line. Why can't we skip it?
Because we need the feedback before going to production.
Later on it will go.
It is about feedback, whether we are on the correct direction. And the feedback can be from other stakeholders, other users also, right? Not necessarily only if we go to production. So let me put it, this is not a gate.
If we have taken feedback before
Just once a second. Huh? So this is not a gate, this is an opportunity to get formal feedback. Yeah, go ahead with your question, please.
if we have taken feedback beforehand and we are not moving on production, then in that case, can this be cancelled?
She's asking if we have taken the feedback beforehand intermittently and there is no intention of going to production at this particular point, can we skip it? Let me ask you one question. See, we are discussing outcome of the sprint as such. So if you have gotten feedback intermittently on the functionality, have you still got a chance to discuss the outcome of the sprint as such? So that is why you will still have the Scrum. This is not an optional Scrum event. See, there are only such a minimal basic guidelines, na people. Why do we want to remove even then? Yesterday we were talking about picture frame. If you remove one side of picture frame, will the frame holds together? So usually when we are skipping any such element, now we are hiding some problem. So if we say that we want to skip this Scrum event, we are hiding some problem that okay, we do not have a well enough connection with stakeholders and they may not turn up, or we are not actually working with stakeholder to give constructive feedback, or we are not accepting the constructive feedback, something. So whenever we feel like that we want to tweak some of these basic tenets of the frameworks, we should try to think what problem it is hiding. It is like this. Let me just give one example and we'll move on. See, if I'm walking, these are my new shoes, and my right shoe starts pinching me. So I could do two things. One thing is, I could remove the right shoe and walk with just my sock and the left shoe on. Of course, my left shoe will be protected, so I'm still getting some work done. But is this a better approach, or I try to see why it is pinching? So again, if we feel tempted to change any of these basic elements, we try to see what is the problem that we are hiding rather than taking the shortcut. Does that make sense? All right. Coming back to sprint review. Any questions on whatever we have discussed here till now? Yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying we discuss towards product goal and not the sprint goal.
Sprint goal, what was the sprint goal would be discussed as a part of the outcome of the sprint, but that is already done, right? Sprint goal, whether we achieve not achieve, the sprint is anyway going to get over. So what we have now in future is how we are going to track the product goal, how we are going to reach till the product goal. So the progress towards the product goal is discussed. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
See, I want you to be able to have confidence on Monday morning to conduct this Scrum event yourself. So towards that, let us discuss a few of the discussions that happen in this particular Scrum event. So let me put it, discussions in the Scrum event. Discussions in sprint review. Usually I like to start, whenever I am there involved with the Scrum team, I like to have the product owner start this event. And it might go something like this. Welcome all the stakeholders. I am glad you are here. Me and my Scrum team, we together have delivered a fantastic increment. I have already accepted that. Do you see what the product owner is doing? Giving out a message that product owner is standing with the Scrum team, not with the stakeholders. They are on the Scrum team side. Second, this is not an acceptance discussion. He or she is giving a message that this is a feedback session, not an acceptance session. So the product owner might go on explain that okay, our product is to improve all the meeting rooms in this higher conference center, and this sprint was about improving this meeting room 3. So what did we do? We provided that a context. We discussed what was the product goal, what was the sprint goal. We made clear that it was not an acceptance forum, but a feedback is wanted. So we give the context first. Let me write it from that side. Context is given. Product context. Now I have a question for you. Say there, yesterday when we were doing sprint planning, we have decided that we will clean the carpet, we will clean the curtains, and we will improve the chairs. For whatever reasons, we were not able to clean all the curtains. So our definition of done does not meet. We have not cleaned them fully, say. So should we be presenting such items which do not meet our definition of done, or should we not be presenting?
Not be
Not presented.
Should present.
So we should not be presenting something which does not meet definition of done. So present only the done items. So let me put it here also, only the done items. So as she was saying, while we present only the done items, we have to tell them that this is what we had planned, but we have not been able to do it for whatever reason. So the product owner might say that cleanup of the curtains was on the agenda, and we had decided that as a part of sprint backlog, but because of a sudden sickness within the team, 3 people took off and we could not get to it. We will probably reprioritize it. So we tell what we have not done upfront, transparency. So the context, then we also discuss the sprint outcome, what has been done, what has not been done. And then we ask for feedback. When we are asking for feedback, say for this room, what sort of feedback can come? Say the chairs. Are the chairs comfortable now? Tell me. Are they comfortable or you have some suggestions? Tell me, go ahead. They are not very comfortable still. So what do you think can happen more?
There should be a wheel to turn
They
around.
should have a proper support structure. Or they should have that armrest is what I would have liked.
Chair should have wheel to turn around.
Chair should have wheels so that I can drag you around. We can think about that. But all of that, where will it go? It can get to product backlog. Whether can I commit that it will get done next sprint?
No.
Don't put your developers on the spot. Many product owners have this habit, right? So what you can do, you can discuss about new product backlog items. New items in product backlog. Now, the chairs where I can wheel you around so that you sit comfortably, do you think they will be done in the same cost for these one?
No.
Then can I as a product owner say that yes sir, we definitely can have, but it might need more budget. So the budget discussions might happen. Now another item on the list was providing water bottles on each table. Do you think the water bottles are good enough? So for other rooms also we can put it this way? So some further discussions can happen, some confirmations can be done. Can we discuss the schedule? Schedule for our further go live. Can you tell me that we had decided that all the 3 rooms can be, done, finished together by April end. But this room looks okay enough to us. The chairs need improvement, yes, the curtains need washing, but we can start using this room. Can we do these discussions?
Yes.
So can we change the release timeline sometime? Prepone, postpone? It happens in real life also, right? That yeah, this, something, you have developed such a brilliant product. Let us at least show it to our select stakeholders. Maybe put a beta user release. So your release decisions, your scheduled decisions can happen. Anything else you think we can discuss?
I have one question.
Anything else you can discuss? I'll come back to your question. Just a minute. Anything else? How about market feedback? If you all have noticed that something, we are trying to improvise these rooms in Hyatt. But I was working with the Taj Ballroom yesterday, and they all have this brilliant new ways of lighting system. So many of our market competitors have those glitter lights around. Can you give me the market feedback? So the market feedback not necessary about the work which we have done here, but as a product itself, because our purpose is to decide future adaptation, not only on what we have done. So we can discuss the market trends. And yes sir, you had a question.
Actually, does it right to discuss the budget in the sprint review? Does not it extends that on the financial part instead of the sprint outcome or the product outcome?
But our purpose is to decide the future adaptations. So
Yes.
budget can be a part of that. So what I see, practically speaking, also happens is sometimes it may need, stakeholders also will not have an instant answer, that whether they have extra budget or
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
They have to go back and think.
Yes.
So we all might decide, yes, the chairs might be a extra budget. Let us all give it a thought, and we will sync up quickly on next Tuesday or whatever time to take further decisions. But at least the point is registered to them that this might have extra budget cost. We may not get to all the decisions. Remember our timeline. 4
Yes,
hours
4
maximum,
hours.
even when the sprint is 1 month. But at least it can get discussed. Sometimes they may have direct answers. Yes, I have enough budget, go for it. Or sometimes they may say, oh no, no extra budget, cancel. Then at least the quick things happen, no? Unnecessary discussions are avoided afterwards. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any other questions, sir? Just 1 second, I've asked him, then I'll come to you.
So, is that so like product owner should ask the stakeholders like do you have any new features to tell us, or it will be proactively shared by the stakeholders during the review or for the new adaptations?
It depends. Again, that is my favorite answer. It depends. Sometimes stakeholders are open and engaging and they will share by themselves. Sometimes you have to gauge the room of the mood. Mood of the room. So sometimes you have to gauge that are they kind of looking that they want to talk about something but they are not sharing. Sometimes it may also happen. Let's say some of you have some questions but don't ask unless I look at you because you might be scared. I'm not saying there are some in this group, but it happens sometimes. So again here is where our facilitator may step in. Based on what is happening, based on where we are in the product life cycle, based on what is our engagement with the stakeholder, we will have to decide. And this is where a good facilitator may step in and use some of the good decision making techniques so that we have group decisions. Does that make sense? If I have got time, I'll talk about few of them afterwards. Yes, sir.
What if there are lots of suggestions with no budget?
Lots of suggestions with no budget. What should you do? You are doing a renovation of your house. Your wife, your kids, all give you suggestions, but then you don't have budget. What will you do? Prioritize what is important, right?
But like if we ask for like if you require this features to be added in product backlog, it may require some budget on that.
So that's
But
what
then like client is not convinced or like we don't have budget on that.
Then
So
we
how
will
to like,
order it down till the time they get the budget. Nothing is free in this world. If you are working, will you say that okay, my client doesn't have budget, I'll do it for free?
hey, but sometimes like in order to like get the customer happy or get the client on in the same phase. So
Then you might be willing to. Then you might be willing to. But even then, as a product owner, I wouldn't commit before I have discussed with my rest of the Scrum team. I might say, it will require some budget. Let us work together to see what can we do. Does that make sense?
Or else we can shuffle with the feature, like we can ask like we will remove this feature.
This is another great idea that you want this, you want a captcha. What can I remove? That can be done. So different discussions may happen. I know I'll come to your question, but I hold her for long time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
About the acceptance, will we be talking about it in details later?
Acceptance is not a part of the minimal guideline given by Scrum because it may not be mandatory for all the teams. If your contracts require acceptance, it can happen. The only point is, it will not happen in this forum. If you ask me, the acceptance and where it should happen is whenever you finish a feature, you show it to your product owner. As such, your product owner is the representative of your stakeholders. He or she has talked in detail with them. You have a very clear guideline in terms of definition of done. So if your work meets that definition of done, it should be accepted. So for me, that could be a good way of doing acceptance, but that is up to you. Again, Sneha, favorite answer. Depends. Easy answer to give. No, but it actually depends on you and your team.
So yeah, if one story is accepted by you and we are reviewing that in this event, stakeholders do not like it, do we reopen the story or do we create a new thing?
We get a feedback. If somebody has already done the acceptance, what it means that the definition of done and the acceptance criteria both were met. So that item was indeed complete. So if there is a feedback, no, I don't want white color covered, discard all of them, bring the red ones, we have all the money. Create a new item, feedback. But why would you want to say the earlier item was not delivered? It was delivered because that time understanding was white covers. Does that make sense? Ma'am, your question. I know. Sorry for bucking you.
So we are saying this is a sprint review wherein we are going to be discussing all that we did or getting a feedback for that particular sprint, which results in a few suggestions which we are adding to the product backlog. Now we are discussing the product backlog, maybe scheduling it or budgeting it, something like that. Will this call not turn into a backlog, product backlog refinement kind of thing?
There might be some amount of product backlog refinement actually done in this event. If we can finish it within the 4 hours comfortably, we might do it here. Otherwise, it is perfectly valid to say that we will consider this item. I'm writing it down. Probably next week, I'll schedule a call, sir, only with you, so that we can discuss it more. Because say a chair might be important to him, whereas water bottles might be important to you. Why should I have both of your time wasted for everything?
Exactly.
So I might call up a separate meeting, but note it down here. At least I know that that is the feedback here. Again, depends.
Because usually product backlog refinements or anything going into product backlog is product owner's
Authority.
Authority, exactly. So, and you don't need the scrum team there, right?
You may or you may not again, because if it has to happen that a particular item cannot be done technically, not possible. What is the point into adding it? So the Scrum Master, the product owner may talk with the Scrum team, see what can be done. Alright, so now do you feel confident enough to perform it on Monday?
Yes.
That is what a trainer likes to hear. Thank you so much.